Hi, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in to the second worldwide podcast. I'm John Chappelear. I'm your host. And today I have Kelley Shaw, who's the client executive for employee benefits with Hylant, an insurance company here in the Southeast U.S. Is that right, Kelley?
Nationwide actually, but based out of Toledo, Ohio.
Okay, nationwide.
But we have an office here in Jacksonville.
Don't want to minimize it. It's a great company. I know from talking to you, but I only know it locally. So,
sure.
Kelley, I know Kelley through our relationship together at Rotary.
Mm-hmm.
Kelley is an exciting and dynamic young woman who is in charge of anything at Rotary that has to do with positive energy and smiling. So, what I'd like to do is just introduce you to Kelley. And today, what I want to talk about is service, because Kelley is, like I said, every time I'm in a program, somebody says, who would like to head this up? And Kelley's usually the person right up at the top of the list with a big smile and her hand straight up in the air. So I guess the first question, Kelley, is, why do you think service is so important?
Sure. When we look at what is service, right? It's to serve, and who are we serving? We're serving others. And in order to serve others, what does that mean? That means that we're meeting the needs of other people. We're taking care of other people. And, in Rotary, obviously, one of our mission statements is service above self. And so, putting others' needs, taking care of others' needs, I think for me, it's so important. I've seen the power and the impact of what service to others, taking care of other people can have, and the impact that it can have, not just on one person, but on a family, on a community, on a much larger scale. And so for me, service to others is a mindset. It's a way of living. It's a way of being in the world that I think very quickly reminds us that living in this world is not about us as an individual. The world doesn't revolve around us. We are the collective, and so we need to take care of others.
Yeah, it's funny. I've always found, it's funny that when I was younger, probably more like your age, the idea of service to others wasn't necessarily on my list of things to do today. But as I've changed over the years, I've found it amazingly paradoxical that the more I do for other people, the better I feel about myself, and the more positive.
It's something,
energy.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an uplifting thing. A friend of mine said something very simple one time. She said, if you want to have higher self-esteem, then it's always good to do esteemable things. And it's, pretty simple. And service to me is one of the most esteemable actions and activities that somebody can take. And I think you're absolutely right. Right now is certainly a good example of I see a lot of people reaching out, trying to do things that are altruistic, helpful, serviceable, anything they can do to kind of bring people along who are struggling with whatever situation they may be struggling with today. You said your family had
I think we so often get caught in the rat race, right? And we get caught in what's important to us, and we get caught in what's important to the life that we lead, and just trying to get through the day. It's amazing to me, serving others in the act of service is such a selfless act, yet in return, it becomes so self-fulfilling because it makes you feel so good about what you can do to help someone else, which is just a wonderful benefit, that it makes you feel better when your intention is to do something to impact the lives of another person or a group of people. But I think what's important is that, like I said, it's a mindset. It's not about getting something in return. You don't serve others with the expectation to get something. Right. However, the incredible benefit is what you actually receive. Right. And that's really powerful.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the idea of sort of quid pro quo is not a process that should be part of. If I do this, then I'm sure I'm going to get that back. I mean, people certainly do that, but if you're looking for that sense of self-fulfillment and you're looking for a sense of self-esteem, those don't get better when it's quid pro quo.
Right.
That's just transactional. I'll give you this, you give me that. Okay, fine, we go our separate ways.
Right.
And it's really one of the things that's hardest. It's easiest for people to sort of say, well, I'll put money in the Salvation Army bucket, or I'll donate, or I'll write a check to a charity. But it's amazing how people begin to do this at work and in the organizations at work. How can I help other people be more successful? Not just how can I help for a charity or poor people or people who are struggling with an issue or not, but how can I just help people be more successful?
Right.
You know, I think success is the most addictive drug that there is, because people feel it so infrequently that, you know, when they get, oh my God, I did that right. Oh my God. You know, so it's just great to be able to support people, for me, personally and professionally.
And the ability to build others up, you know, and I feel like as leaders, we have a responsibility to be servant leaders, and to educate others, to build others up, to and to mentor others, and quite frankly, to be the voice for people that really haven't found their words yet.
Yeah.
You know, but servant leadership is about servicing others and leading others, building others up so that they too can succeed.
No, I would agree. I would agree 100%. Of course, that's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on here, because you definitely, every time I see you, you're always heading up something to help others, and it's really exciting to see that be the case. Now, the last time you and I talked, you had mentioned something about your family having a history of service, and so tell me a little bit more about that.
So, you know, I grew up with a family that is fourth generation. I'm a fourth generation native of Jacksonville. My family's obviously been here for quite some time, and you know, being involved in the community, giving back to the community was always something that was important to my family. And I'll tell you, John, probably one of the biggest lessons I learned was that it was never about having the name on a building. It was never about the recognition in the paper. It was never, you know, my family did so many things as I saw as a kid that were done behind the scenes. Like I said, it's not about what the expectation is in return. You know, I spent many a day and many a weekend down at the thrift shop when it used to be downtown. My mom was actually president of the Junior League of Jacksonville. She was very active in the Junior League. And so she and I would follow her when I was 6, 7, and 8 years old, and we would spend hours and weekends down at the thrift shop downtown. My mom, you know, my dad felt strongly that my mom was to be the community advocate and the community leader. So I saw from a female perspective the impact that she could have serving on the board of directors for the high school that I went to, the elementary and middle school that I went to, being involved in their church community. And, you know, for the majority of my career, I spent in the nonprofit world and, you know, learning how to help others when it matters most. And so I was blessed with role models growing up that taught me what service to others is all about in such an incredibly beautiful way, because it never was about what they were going to receive from it. Now, at the end of the day, what they have received and what I've received over the course of the many years that I've been involved in the community, my heart is full. I feel selfish because I feel so good with the gifts that I'm given from those that I serve. But such a blessed way to learn about service to others when it's done anonymously and truly at the root about helping other people.
Yeah, I agree. I had a friend of mine years ago when I first started the idea of writing Daily Six. That's probably, I don't know, 20 years ago now. Right. And we were talking about service, and he said, well, I'll give you a really great exercise. And it was, I want you to do something nice for somebody for the next 30 days and don't tell anybody. Don't even tell me. I don't even want to know about it. I just want you to know about it. And the first few days was, this is really a pain in my butt. I mean, it's just, somebody's got to know how good I'm behaving. And
you just want to shout it from the rooftops.
It's like, I put a quarter in this guy's parking meter. Oh my gosh. So it's, and then eventually it's sort of been, oh, this is good. And then eventually, like you said, I started feeling really good. I started looking for opportunities to be of service, because it is, I say all the time in keynotes that new behavior is uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
All new behavior is uncomfortable. Even good behavior is uncomfortable. So if you're not used to being of service or doing service-focused activities, realize that as you begin, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
But if you're on the right path, the comfort zone comes up pretty quickly. What do you think about?
Well, everyone has talents and treasures and gifts. I think what's so great about service to others is not only what you have the ability to give others, but truly what you can learn from other people.
I agree with that.
It can be such a humbling and overwhelming experience. But everyone has talents and gifts, and everyone deserves the opportunity to share those talents and gifts and learn from other people's talents and gifts.
No, I would agree with that. And I absolutely agree that everybody has something that they can contribute. And sometimes, personally and professionally, you have to sometimes dig deeper to help somebody find the gift that they have that they can contribute, because they've been so, now I don't know if it's ignored or they just haven't thought of themselves as valuable enough to contribute. But like everybody has something that they can contribute. And if you spend just a little bit of time talking to people, you're always amazed at how much they can contribute if given an opportunity and are encouraged to do the contribution.
And sometimes you just need to ask.
Well, yeah, sometimes it's as simple as, how do you think you could help contribute to this? Versus just charging ahead. And so sometimes it is simple, simply asking for some help or some input or some ideas.
Or identifying a talent and a gift in someone else and asking them to share that talent or gift. I think, so many times, I think that women tend to kind of understand perhaps a little bit more. It's a nurturing, wanting to help and take care of other people. But I find so often for men, especially in leadership positions, they may not know how to serve, whether it's on the board of directors, the chairman of an event, volunteer their time. It's a lot easier to just write a check. And so to ask the question, to put someone in the position where they're able to serve, perhaps they just never have been asked before as a leader to serve. And when given the opportunity, that they would love to be able to serve, they just don't know how. So I think, we just need to remember to ask sometimes.
Well, well, like I said, new behavior is uncomfortable, and it's, have you been exposed to this kind of a thing? I mean, I kind of grew up in only the lead dog gets a good view kind of mindset of, charge ahead. The beatings will continue until morale improves, kind of leadership techniques, which gratefully I found pretty early on weren't particularly smart to use. But as we begin to, grow and mature a little bit, it is very interesting how people can realize that they do have gifts that they can share. And it's always nice. I mean, that's one of the things I love about, I do a lot of speaking, but I really like the idea of working with small groups, because, and then you can sort of see the light come on, it's like, I can do that. I can do, if you ask people, give me some examples of what do you think you can do next week that would make a difference. And all of a sudden you see the wheels start to churn and ideas start popping up, and their sense of self-worth just skyrockets. So,
well, you talk a little bit about that in your Daily Six in the service video. I just kind of laugh because you talk about, where do people start? Do and you, for example, do they start with trying to take care of the homelessness issue? Do they try to take care of feeding, taking care of impoverished families?
Right.
And it can be so overwhelming to understand where to start. So to your point, when asked the question, what is it that I can do this week that can make a difference?
Right.
It puts it on a level that people understand that I too, as an individual, I might not be able to change the entire culture of this organization, but guess what? I can start to make inroads with my team.
Right.
I can do something different to make a change at the small level, which ultimately is going to grow and impact on a much larger scale. And yes, you start to feel worthwhile that you're a contributing member and you have something to offer and to give. Everyone is capable.
I agree 100%. It's the issue is to try and feel as if you have to be in some sort of a group that is supporting your contribution. And a lot of times people feel like they're not, and my suggestion usually is, well, how about changing that group? Might be something as simple as finding somebody who appreciates your gifts, or finding a group that appreciates your gifts. You're not always born into one. You were very lucky to have been born into one, and I know plenty of people who don't have that, so they have to sort of build one of their own. And once they find a group of people that cherishes and values their gifts, things really get better. Listen, in winding down a little bit, how do you see ways that with this social distancing and sort of being by ourselves, or at least in small groups at home, are there ways that we can still be of service to other people?
Sure. So I was thinking about this a lot, and I mean, the first answer is very simple, is to be kind. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. And this pandemic and isolation and quarantine is impacting everyone. It's impacting everyone, and the impact is unique for every person given their situation. There's folks that are just having to work remotely, and they're blessed that they still have a job and a paycheck coming in, yet they're still isolated in quarantine. There's families that have loved ones that are separated. There's folks with financial hardships. So let's take it back to the human nature of just being kind. I think something else that folks can do is ask the question, how are you? And not only ask the question, but different from the rat race of every day, when we're on the elevator and we quickly push the button, as you said, because we don't want to have to interact with people. How often do we find ourselves in conversation where you say, how are you? Simple, fine, I'm good is the response, and you move about your day. What's most important now is to not only ask the question, but to listen to the answer and give people the opportunity to respond, because quite frankly, not everyone is going to say that they're okay or I'm fine. But the very fact that you ask gives the outlet for communication, and that could be the one thing that makes a difference in that person's world that day.
Exactly.
So I think that's a great start.
No, you're absolutely right. I used to refer to what you were talking about, not necessarily in the elevators, but as you kind of walk through an office in the morning, I used to call that the litany of the cubicles. It was like morning, 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 and you just sort of went all the way through. It wasn't as if I really had any interest. I just have to go through this perfunctory level of greeting everybody so I can get to my office and close the door. And you're right. If you just take a few minutes and genuinely connect, maybe you can't connect with 30 people between the front door and the office, but you can connect with a couple every day. And again, these are situations when I'm working with a company, I say, if we do these things, you will be in the top 0.5% of every organization, because nobody does this. Nobody encourages their people. They just want them to sort of move along at the speed of don't screw up. Just don't get fired, just keep moving. Don't take any chances. That, you know, we were just talking about staffs that want to feel their people to feel empowered, but it's like, okay, but do you really want them to feel empowered? Because that could cause some chaos, because people will be trying new things and new ideas. And so what you have to do is, like you were saying, if you're going to say good morning, how are you, make sure you've given yourself enough time to listen to an answer, you know, or, you know, how are you?
Especially now.
Yeah, especially now.
I found myself on a phone call not too long ago, and I answered the phone, hello, and I immediately said, yes, I'm fine, thinking in my head that the person asked me, how are you? How often do we go through that on a daily basis?
Sure.
We function on autopilot.
Yes.
We're now more than ever, especially in isolation, to get back to human nature at its core, to check in with people. You know, the other big thing is I find myself, we're blessed in Florida that we can get outside and we can have access to fresh air. Today is a gorgeous day. When's the last time that you actually took a walk around the neighborhood and spoke to one of your neighbors and actually acknowledged the person walking on the other side of the street and said hello? Just getting back to that human core of that other people matter and checking in with them. As I said, this pandemic is impacting people in such unique ways that we cannot assume that because they're smiling or they're out exercising or that they're home with a roof over their head that they're doing okay. So now more than ever, service to others is so important, because the impact that it can have to that person on their mental health and overall well-being, just by asking, how are you? What can I do for you today?
Right. And it really is, and it really can, and it really is that simple. You know, this is the nice thing about the stuff that I put in the Daily Six, is that the idea was to write a book that didn't require a couple of hours every day for you to try and implement this idea. It was just mostly just change your mindset. So if you are out walking around, say something to somebody. Like you were talking about in my service video, it's just like, hold the door. I mean, come on, how easy can that be? I mean, nowadays you might want to hold it with a broom pole or something, because you want to stay
with a mask on.
That's
totally fine.
And a broom pole holding the door open, but at least, you know, you're just not walking right on through. And and I can't, you know, what the only thing I'm hoping for, and I think we can, is that we will learn some techniques that help us be more connected during this time, so that when we come out of this, and we will come out of this, and when we come out of this, that we've learned to be a little more gentle, a little bit more empathetic, a little bit more loving, so that the lessons learned now do not get forgotten quickly as we go back to normal.
And isn't it something that, you know, so much of our world prior to this this quarantine was over texting, over email, and, you know, and we're all running in so many different directions. But when things slow down, and now we're in a quarantine, we can text all day long, but what are people craving? People are craving the face-to-face human interaction, which only goes to show even further how important that can be. Connection, relationship. You know, I have so many friends that in otherwise their life, they're unable to take care of a dog or a cat, and they're finding themselves incredibly alone during this time. What a wonderful time to foster a dog or a cat from the Humane Society for that companionship, to be able to get outside and exercise and be healthy, and to serve others. You're servicing an animal. There's so many different ways that people can implement something new into their daily life during this isolation that can make a difference, not just to themselves, but to other people. And it just gets back to being human at the core and what matters: relationship and connection with others, and making people feel good about who they are.
Yeah, if we can do that, I think we've come a long ways. making people just feel good
A
about
long way.
Yeah, yeah.
A long way.
A long way. Kelley, thank you very much. I appreciate you
My
being
pleasure.
on the podcast today, talking about services. This is, again, Kelley Shaw, the executive for employee benefits at Hylant. And so, Kelley, thank you again. I'm
My
not
pleasure.
sure when I'm going to see you face to face, but I should see you on a Rotary Zoom meeting very, very soon.
You got it. A Zoom at noon. We'll do it.
A Zoom at noon. You take care, Kelley. Thanks very much.
Thanks, John. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.